It's a scorching December day in 2022, the kind of heat that makes the pavement shimmer. Carl Labbrook, president of the Rebels Motorcycle Club in Western Australia, is cruising in his sleek BMW, grinning like he owns the world. But unbeknownst to him, his next move is about to bring the entire club to its knees. The police pull him over, and what they find is jaw-dropping: $210,000 in cash stuffed into the car. This isn't just a routine bust. It's the beginning of the Rebels' unraveling. Only weeks later, the club's boss and a prominent horse trainer, Kelly Clay, are in court, accused of trying to pass off $500,000 as Christmas gifts. Investigators quickly uncover that Labbrook and Clay were the masterminds behind the operation, and their connection runs far deeper than anyone had imagined. Since that fateful day, the Rebels have been fighting an uphill battle to stay afloat. Allegations of betrayal, power struggles, and the looming collapse of the club have put everything on the line. For outlaw motorcycle clubs like the Rebels, loyalty is sacred. When that bond is broken, the fallout can be deadly. This story reaches its boiling point when Damon Fifth, the Rebels' national president, feels stabbed in the back by his own Western Australia chapter leader, Carl Labbrook. The betrayal marks the beginning of a chaotic chapter for the club, a tale of loyalty lost, trust betrayed, and the heavy price of deceit that Labbrook's criminal rise. Not much is known about Labbrook's early years, but one thing is clear: he has been immersed in crime for as long as anyone can remember. His rap sheet spans 2 decades and includes violent offenses, drug trafficking, financial fraud, and even high-speed police chases. His first major encounter with the law came in 2001, and his criminal career only escalated from there. In the early 2000s, Labbrook was busted alongside other Rebels members for operating a drug lab in a hotel. Despite serving time, he didn't reform. By 2010, he had pivoted to manufacturing drugs, amassing wealth and street credibility in the Australian underworld. Even after serving multiple prison sentences, Labbrook remained deeply connected to the Rebels, continuing his illegal activities undeterred. The December 2022 bust, the tipping point, came in December 2022. Despite being under police surveillance for over 20 years, Labbrook made a critical error. Driving his flashy BMW, he carried a suspicious package wrapped like a Christmas present in the back seat. The police stopped him, searched the car, and uncovered $210,000 in cash. This discovery led investigators to Kelly Clay, a high-profile figure in horse racing. A raid on Clay's property revealed another $250,000, similarly wrapped in festive paper. Both were charged with possessing unlawfully obtained property, but this was just the tip of the iceberg. Betrayal and the Rebels' downfall. As the legal noose tightened, Labbrook began cooperating with the police, breaking the unspoken code of silence within the club. His testimony took a shocking turn when he implicated his former best friend, Nick Martin, the Rebels' Western Australia president. Martin had been assassinated in 2020 by a sniper at a public event. In court, Labbrook alleged that Martin had been stealing from the club, using membership funds to renovate his mansion. Hours before Martin's death, Labbrook claimed he had confronted him in a tense, hours-long meeting. These revelations sent shockwaves through both the legal system and the criminal underworld, painting a grim picture of betrayal and infighting within the Rebels. Now, as Labbrook faces potential decades behind bars, his actions may mark the beginning of the end for the Rebels Motorcycle Club in Western Australia. What was once a powerful organization is now fighting to survive amid betrayal, scandal, and relentless pressure from law enforcement. To Carl Labbrook, Nick Martin's alleged betrayal was unforgivable. In his eyes, Martin had to go. While Martin wasn't pleased about being ousted, he didn't live long enough to fight back. Just months after the coup, Martin was killed by a sniper, a death that shocked Australia's criminal underworld. Martin was a respected figure in the Rebels Motorcycle Club, and hearing Labbrook's accusations against him in court was unprecedented. For the Rebels, Loyalty to leadership is a sacred, unspoken rule, and speaking ill of a leader, especially in public, is almost unthinkable. But Labbrook shattered that taboo without hesitation. The trial took its toll on Labbrook, and his decision to cooperate with the police was seen as an act of desperation. Facing mounting legal troubles, he likely thought things couldn't get worse, until 2023, when the courts issued an anti-consorting order against him. This order severed Labbrook's ties with his fellow bikers, isolating him from the only family he had known for over 25 years. But the hits didn't stop there. Labbrook soon found himself linked to a drive-by shooting in Baldivis, where the home of a Mongols gang member was riddled with bullets. Though the police haven't formally charged him, they strongly suspect his involvement. Yet even these mounting legal troubles pale in comparison to the fallout within the rebels themselves. Tensions with Damon V, the rebels' national president, publicly questioned Labbrook's loyalty following his court testimony. Furious, Labbrook defended himself, asserting that he bore no ill will toward Nick Martin, his former best friend. He even recalled speaking at Martin's funeral, sharing a memory of their early days together. One where Martin, ever resourceful, carried a massive plasma TV out of a debtor's house as repayment. But Damon V wasn't satisfied. He demanded Labbrook provide court transcripts to prove he hadn't violated the rebels' code of honor. Labbrook, already under immense pressure, fired back, refusing to comply. The standoff escalated, with Damon V threatening punitive action. Instead of waiting for retribution, Labbrook made a shocking move. He handed in his colors and quit the club he had called home for over 30 years. The decision sent shockwaves through the rebels, but Labbrook's resignation wasn't the end of the drama. The Great Resignation after Labbrook's departure, the West Australian chapter of the rebels stood firmly by his side. They supported his claims about Nick Martin's corruption, accusing the former president of embezzling club funds and ruling with an iron fist. In an unprecedented act of solidarity, 37 members of the West Australian Rebels chapter followed Labbrook's lead and quit the club. Dubbed the Great Resignation within Australia's biker community, this mass exodus was the largest in Rebels history. The departing members defied tradition by taking their Harley-Davidson motorcycles with them, a bold act of rebellion against Damon V's leadership. Speculation swirled about their next move. Would they join another club or form a new one under Labbrook's leadership? The timing couldn't have been worse for the rebels. Locked in a brutal turf war with the Mongols, the club was already struggling. The resignation of 37 members significantly weakened the rebels' foothold on the West Coast, giving the Mongols a clear advantage. The fall of an era internally, many blame Damon V for the club's decline. Critics point to his poor leadership and inability to keep the club united in the face of growing challenges. The rebels are now at their weakest, and the future of the once mighty motorcycle gang hangs in the balance to AS for Labbrook. His legal battles are far from over. With a criminal history spanning decades, any conviction could result in a lengthy prison sentence. His former associate, Kelly Clay, has already been convicted, making it likely that Labbrook will share a similar fate. Even if he escapes the more serious charges, lesser offenses like driving without authority could still land him behind bars. Whatever the outcome, one thing is clear. The Rebels Motorcycle Club and Australia's underworld will never be the same. Whether this marks the start of a new chapter or the end of an era for the Rebels, only time will tell.